When I was in the middle of coloring this page, I looked at it and thought, oh, this is not really nice. I thought that maybe I had chosen the wrong colors for the background, or perhaps I had chosen the wrong medium. I really didn't like how pale the background looked or how badly the colors were blended. At first, I tried using the Inktense blocks because I thought I could use them like watercolors. And yes, we can use them like watercolors. We can pick up the pigment directly from the stick and apply it with a wet brush. But it didn't work the way I wanted to. And it was actually a lot of work. So I decided to switch to Derwent Inktense pencils. Honestly, I don't use this art medium very often, but I really enjoyed working with the pencils this time. Even though the illustration has so many tiny details around the leaves, which made coloring the background a little bit tricky. Because I was working in such tiny spaces, I didn't really have many options for blending the colors. I also probably didn't use as much pigment as I could have. Maybe I could also add more colors for better transition between colors. Or maybe I could have added more layers with the Inktense pencils and made the colors stronger. But it was already quite a lot of work, and I didn't want to go back and forth with all the colors all over again. So in the end, I did only one layer with Derwent Inktense. After coloring the background, I thought that maybe I just need to color the illustration and everything will come together and I will see more of the progress and I will like the page more. So I continued and colored the rest of the illustration. But the further I progressed on the page, the more I realized that it wasn't actually helping. I liked how I had colored the illustration itself, but I still didn't like the overall look of the page. The illustration was becoming more vibrant, but the background still looked pale and unfinished next to it. So I thought about it for a while. And I was thinking, well, I used high quality pigmented pencils for the background. Why isn't the result satisfying? But sometimes, even when we use high quality art materials, there are other circumstances that affect the final result. This is still just a coloring page. It is ordinary paper in a coloring book, and even though the paper in Hanna Karlzon's coloring books is really good and can handle wet media, it's not a proper watercolor paper, and Derwent Inktense is a wet medium. As I already mentioned, I could use more colors, or I could do more layers as well. Maybe I added too much water while blending, and all of these small things affected how the final result looked. But then I realized that this is exactly why I love mixed media and why I use it so often. Mixed media helps me compensate for the gaps in the process or for the limitations of the other art materials. We don't have to use only one art medium from the beginning of a page until the end. It is absolutely okay if the result you get with one art medium isn't the best. Even if we can use a certain art medium on a coloring page, it doesn't necessarily mean that this is the most suitable option for that paper or for the effect we are trying to create. So I decided to take my colored pencils and add a layer of Prismacolor on top of the Derwent Inktense. And yes, it took me a while. When I finished this main round with my Prismacolors, I was so surprised by how the overall page turned out. Even though both the background and the illustration are vibrant, I still think they work together much better than they did before I added the Prismacolors. And then I realized something else. We often color the background and then simply leave it as it is. Even if we finish the rest of the illustration and still don't like how the whole page looks, we may not think about returning to the background, even though it could use another layer, or perhaps it only needs small details such as some bokeh, stars, a glow, or a little more contrast. And that one extra step can make the page look completely different in the end. I think, and I'm speaking from my own experience, we often assume that one part of the page is finished just because we have already colored it. We create the first layer, move on to another area, and then we don't touch the first area again. We may think that the entire page is done and that we can't change it anymore. But we can. Even if we return to a page a year later, we can still make changes. I have noticed that I have been doing similar things on many of my pages recently, especially when I use watercolors for the background and still feel that something is missing. I often take my oil pastels and use them over the watercolor background. I don't always cover it completely. Sometimes I only use the oil pastels to add certain elements, such as a glow or a cloudy, misty effect, or to just darken the edges. I may also go over the watercolors with colored pencils and make some adjustments that way. I know doing these adjustments or doing more layers is really time-consuming, but every layer we add has the potential to improve the final result dramatically. So I want to encourage you, if you feel that one of your pages is missing something, if it is missing vibrancy, sparkle, or contrast, you can always take another art medium and try adding another layer. You probably know the term ugly stage of the art, right? No matter whether we are talking about coloring, painting, or drawing, or any other form of art, there is always an ugly stage. It is the moment when the artwork doesn't look the way we imagined, but it is simply because we are not done yet. There are another layers waiting. So if you think that your page isn't looking that great, don't stop immediately. Continue. Add another layer and give the page a little bit more time. And if you're not sure about what to add or how to add more layers, what helps me a lot is leaving the page alone at that moment and sleeping on it. The next morning, I usually see everything differently. I may get new ideas or notice something I didn't see the day before, because now I have fresh eyes and fresh mind. We don't necessarily have to finish a page within one day, right? If you want to dive deeper in the world of coloring, color along with me and learn more from my coloring tutorials, I warmly invite you to join my Fellowship of the Coloring Cats on my Patreon, Nekosimi Coloring. You will find the link below this video. And on my Patreon, you will find not only full versions of my cinematic YouTube coloring videos, but also special color alongs that are not published anywhere else, guided coloring tutorials, my own color combinations, and much more. What is the best if you are unsure about what to expect from the membership? I have selected videos available for individual purchase in my Patreon shop. This way, you can try one video first and see whether this style of coloring and teaching is something you would like to dive deeper into, and then you can decide whether you would like to join us. But whether you join me there or continue experimenting on your own, I hope this page reminds you not to give up on your artwork just because you don't like how it looks in the middle of the process. I'm really glad that I didn't stop when I first looked at the background and thought, that it wasn't really good, because after adding the Prismacolors, the bokeh and those final adjustments, the page became much closer to what I had imagined. And actually, I like it even more.